I wanted to make some three-dimensional forms with clay, simple forms that had volume. I decided in advance that they would not become an artwork, but that I would use the process of making them to think about art making. I decided to make a lot. I wanted to keep my engagement with making these at a very simple level. If they are small, I can make them quick and fast, and I can repeat the activity over and over in a relatively short amount of time. This lets me think about the activity at a primary level of engagement with the material. I used clay because it is a simple and basic art-making material that is easily manipulated. To make a volume, I flattened out a lump of clay and made hollow forms by folding it over a little, keeping a space inside it and joining its edges in various ways. I am not too concerned with what it is I am making, so to use the material economically makes sense. In some way, I think of this process as an act of molting. It is as if these pieces are falling out of me, like debris, so I like that they have some kind of aesthetic to this effect. I'm not sure if this occurred to me before I started to make them or after. This is the closest I suppose I am comfortable with getting to any kind of representation. I don't want to push the object into a position where it has the capacity, ability, or responsibility to explain itself. Because I am in a continuous process of making, I am developing strategies or methods of production, and this annoys me. I tear off a lump of clay from the bigger lump of clay. I flatten this out. This flattening only seems to make an ovalish or circleish type shape with uneven edges. I realize as I make more and more that there are only so many ways I can connect its edges in order to make a three-dimensional volume. When I become conscious of this, I begin to make efforts to try to find some new ways to join the edges. I spend a little more time with each piece, although I still make these decisions pretty fast. I find it very difficult to think about what these objects are just at the moment when they drop out of my hand. I'm not sure what they are, but maybe something like excrement or some kind of bodily excretion. As I make each piece, I can't escape making aesthetic choices. These choices are probably informed by aesthetic decisions I have made while producing art over the years. Decisions informed by how I value various aspects of form. I obviously attach meaning and distinction to varying qualities of weight, volume, shape, length, texture, etc. So, I like these objects, how they look alone and together. I made them using my hands and cannot escape my biases. I am biased towards them, and I feel like making more. I enjoy that there is a visible physical production happening. And I enjoy the process. It's calming and slows my thinking. I feel like it might be some kind of pathological urge, the want to keep making them. So I want to explore and think about this want in relation to art making generally. When other people encounter them, I think something might happen more for them than for me, but this feels different from when I made work previously. I feel like others are probably thinking about them and trying to read them. In the past, I always wanted to see if my ideas were translated, if a piece was successful, if it had effect. For me, these objects are quite empty of meaning, and I don't really care about them or anyone's relationship to them. These encounters are happening in my studio. I think it might be becoming a type of hoarding, because it's not a production in which what is produced will be shown or disseminated, or even hypothetically disseminated. I'm making stuff and accumulating it and developing a relationship with it. I feel like this inquiry that I suppose exists mainly in my head and in this analysis is also manifest in these objects. They are proof that an idea can take up physical space. This relieves some anxiousness and also has some kind of quantifying ability and maybe gives some valorization to making things for me. I switched to white clay to see what would happen if I changed something. I don't like it as much as the brown. I don't like the colour or the texture. I can't easily understand why I don't like it as much. I think it has something to do with the way I relate to it, how I relate it to me. For some reason, I associate the darker, more earthy, more textured clay to me, to my personality, to the way I view things. This makes me think perhaps these intuitive decisions and biases are narcissistic, that I want these clay things to represent me, to be representative of me.